the amazing assault on the human body by toxins in today's society, and they differ a lot from the 17th century and before, in that the toxins back then were quite pronounced also. Smoky houses and not so clean conditions. But most of those toxins back then were water-soluble. And water-soluble toxins can also be very evil, but they are easier to get rid of. Most of today's toxins are fat-soluble, so they get stored in fat cells, or they come as heavy metals. And you know, they're all evil, because fat-soluble toxins have to be stored somewhere. At some point, we overwhelm our body with these toxins. I just found out that the European Union just banned more than 10,000 chemicals in makeup. They just passed that legislation. They tried to get the Americans on board with it. We refused. We're still allowing those chemicals to be present in our makeup line. Just a tiny example, 10,000 plus chemicals. It's mind-boggling. Every month, 3,000 new chemicals get approved here in the United States for use in foods or in the manufacture of plastics. Why do I pick on plastics? It's very often used all around us, as far as storage, as far as drinking, water bottles, and that stuff leaches into our food. PBA has made the headlines lately, hasn't it? And its deleterious effect on our health, and how it really damages mitochondria, there's that word again, mitochondrial function, which really affects how we metabolize, how we produce energy, how we really live. And so it's all around us. Medications, it's becoming a really big problem. We're seeing so many traces now in our water supply because of people dumping medications, but also the amount of medications. A personal hero of mine passed away 2 months ago, Abraham Hoffer, and he really is the father of functional medicine, and was the originator of something called orthomolecular psychiatry. He was interviewed yet 5 months ago. He's in his late 90s, still practicing as a psychiatrist, and found that for schizophrenia in the early 1950s, he found that niacin, one of the B vitamins, has a cure rate of over 30% with schizophrenia, which is incredible. We're talking cure rate here. It's been well documented, has recently been repeated by another study. It took about 50 years to do that. But this brilliant man was stating about the state of our being, and he said the assault by all these chemicals on us as a race is such a great threat that he was extremely pessimistic about the next generation. Being an optimist, I'm not quite that pessimistic, because I see incredible change coming through our society. Internet is really making the patients very smart. They're making us aware. That's why people come to seminars like this to educate themselves. And I think eventually, hopefully, the assault by too many medications and all the chemicals around us is going to diminish, we can hope. But it's also found its way in our food supply, hasn't it? The amount of advertising that our youth gets exposed to, is there anything good advertised food-wise? I really have looked. I haven't been able to find anything. I have not yet seen a great advertisement for broccoli. I just haven't seen it.
Broccoli.
And you know, we could spend the entire hour here just discussing broccoli and all of its benefits and how it increases liver function. It doubles liver function for 36 hours with just one serving, functionally. Just broccoli. Yeah? Major antioxidants. Its anti-cancer benefits have been proven. I can go on and on about just one thing. We don't see any of that advertised at all. And instead, what we do is we get these advertisements for gummy bears and Skittles, thank you, and who knows what. So food, we're going to talk about that. It has an incredible negative effect. And if all you come away with today is to switch away from new to man chemicals in food to eating real food, mission accomplished. Yeah? If that's all you do. Not even talking calorie change, we're not even talking when or how fast or all those things, other things that matter. Okay, if that's all you come away with. So it's, look at your food. If great grandma would not recognize it, do not eat it. Pretend she is sitting on your shoulder as you're going through the grocery store. Nope, you've never seen that. Nope, don't do that. If it has a label on it, be very suspicious. Man has touched it. Yeah? So plastics, the PBA in there, it's becoming a disaster. Heavy metals. Heavy metals is a generational disaster that is upon us. It's not whether you have heavy metals poisoning you right now. The question is how much. Because mom had it. And her mother had it. This really started back in the 1920s when we started dumping heavy metals into the atmosphere and into our water supply. Baby gets 20% of mom's heavy metals in that tiny little body. So we get an increased concentration, which then gets passed on to the next generation, plus the influence of the increasing dirty environment. By the time you come to this generation, our heavy metal count is so high compared to just 3 generations ago. Even in us healthy folks, it is absolutely shocking. It is a crisis that is upon us, and it is affecting our brains. Ever wonder why we see so much ADD? Ever wonder why the autism is so high? Alzheimer's is skyrocketing. Ever wondering why all these autoimmune diseases are just going through the roof? Even in my short lifetime, I've seen an incredible increase in that. It is because of this compounding of generation upon generation upon generation. And the time to do something about it is now, because if you, especially as a female, as a woman in childbearing years, increase your health, you are increasing your detoxification ability, you are decreasing your toxins in your system, and that is going to have a tremendous effect on the next generation. We have a real responsibility here to the next generation. And even if you're past childbearing years, you can do an incredible amount of good. Heavy metals, big topic. We detoxify detection. Let's go there just for a sec. We covered detection of heavy metals last time, and basically what we concluded, we went through all the various ways to do it. Urine seems to be the best. It's been around since the 1930s. We've come back to it. It's cheap. It's effective. We can check it for 11 different heavy metals. We do it on site here. It is very accurate. Water contamination, that's a big one. I saw Dr. Stacey doing a little research on the water. And what kind of filtration systems did you think was best?
Well, I looked at the most common filtration systems that we use today. Brita water filters. Mainly the pitcher filters are what I see most patients asking me about. And then I also looked into reverse osmosis. The main difference, of course, everybody knows about distilled water. Those are out there. There's a magnetic, there's a UV radiation, there's ionized water, all of those. But I spent most of my time on Brita and the reverse osmosis. Brita, the great thing about it, it's a carbon filter. Did anybody know carbon filters are made out of coconut husks? Thought that was very interesting. Did not have a clue. But the carbon filter, what it does is it reduces chlorine. Does not completely take it out, but it does reduce chlorine. Does not touch fluoride. They want to leave fluoride in there. They're still under the impression that fluoride is good for our health and our teeth.
We disagree.
Very much so. It also reduces copper, mercury, and cadmium. If I remember correctly on the third one, but I know it's copper, mercury, and cadmium.
About how much did that reduce it?
They did not give a percent. But the new thing, because he was talking about medications and pharmaceuticals, how they've been passing into our groundwater and our drinking water, Brita has put out that they believe that they're taking out 96.7% of the pharmaceuticals out of the water with just the carbon filters in the pitcher, which is great. That's awesome. We don't want all that junk in our water. The reverse osmosis systems and price break between a pitcher system, $20 to $30 for the pitcher, depending on how many filters you buy, $20 to $40 for the filters, depending on how many and how big your family is, how often you use them. Reverse osmosis, I mainly looked on the under the counter